My theme is maybe out of sync with everything that has preceded. And I will not read. I have a written text, a 3-page text that you can pick up afterwards, but I will try and give the essence of what is included. The topic is Germany's war debts to Greece. And there's a subtitle, which I will read, A Moral, Political, and Economic Issue of Decisive Importance for the Future of Europe. Now, from what I read, the topic of the meeting is what to do. So I will have a concrete proposal, actually a political proposal, to put forth at the end of my presentation. Before I do that, I will unfold a map, which I will explain, and you can take a look at the end. It is a map of Greece, which depicts the sites of martyrdom, which are over 1,000 cities and villages with victims ranging from 25% of the population to 100% of the population. It's a map that is included in a site which is referred to at a footnote of my presentation. So you can see this in detail through the internet, if you wish. So the first question is, obviously, what are we talking about? What are Germany's debts from the war to Greece? And is it something that has come up recently because of the crisis? Is it a way to overcome Greece's economic problems and crisis? Is that what motivates us? Right from the beginning, I will give my credentials. I am a member of the National Council for the Claiming of Germany's War Debts to Greece, which was founded in 1996 and officially registered in 2000. So this was way before any storm clouds appeared on the horizon. Now, you can see in my introduction a few historical facts regarding the agreements, the fact that Greece first presented its claims right at the Paris Peace Conference in 1946, and then agreed to the moratorium which was signed in 1953 in London, which decided that Germany would only be accountable for its debts once it was reunited. Now, we all know that that happened in 1990 through this agreement in Moscow, the 2+4 agreement. But Germany demanded and got a 5-year grace period and when this grace period expired, the Greek government, through the foreign minister, presented a verbal note to Bonn, that was the capital of Germany then, stating its claims. Germany never responded to that. It had a very arrogant disposition. It was at the height of its power. It was already dominating Europe, and Greece was only a peripheral country. Anyway, when we saw that, we being the members of the National Council, what later became the National Council, we decided to take the matter in our own hands and inform the Greek people and try and influence the Greek authorities. Now, we were partly successful in informing the Greek people, but we were disastrously unsuccessful as far as influencing the Greek authorities. And the reason was that the Greek authorities, both parties, both major parties which have governed Greece during the last decades, were completely bought off by German corporations like Siemens and Hochtief, and they were unwilling to put forth claims and to confront Germany. They were even unwilling to receive us. And when I say us, I'm talking about Manolis Glezos, I'm talking about Mangakis, who was later a minister, and venerable figures of the resistance and officials who participated in the National Council. Anyway, we were not put off by this, and when the situation began to disintegrate, when the bipartisan setup began to disintegrate after 2010, the issue came to prominence, and the Syriza party, of which I am a co-founder, was responsive and receptive, and included the item on its agenda, on its pre-election platform. Now, the major categories of the war debts are the indemnities to the victims' families, the reparation payments, the forced loan, and the stolen antiquities and cultural treasures. The indemnities to the families, which is the first category, is very hard to assess financially, to estimate to what amount that adds up to. Only for this Tomo, which has a couple of hundreds of victims, the courts decided a sum of roughly 80 million euros of today's, and this is only for moral damages. So you can imagine what figures we're talking about when we have hundreds of cases like this. Now, the reparation payments, the National Council estimates in the hundreds of billions, specifically 107 billion euros without taking interest into account. And it can be estimated conservatively at over 320 billion euros if you add a modest interest rate. Now, this is on the basis of the figure which was accepted at the Paris Peace Conference. Greece had bigger claims, but this was the claim that was accepted by the Paris Peace Conference. Now, as you probably heard, Greece, besides this, lent Germany the so-called forced loan during the occupation in 1942, March of 1942, a figure which has been estimated as high as 300 billion euros today. And the reparations, the repatriation of antiquities and other cultural treasures is priceless. The estimations go beyond the billions into the trillions. Now, Germany has, of course, been very reluctant to accept, to even discuss this matter. And when the Prime Minister of Greece stated the matter during his late visit to Berlin, Chancellor Merkel was fast to respond that the matter is considered closed for Germany. Of course, no one has ever explained how and when it was closed. Many German scholars and legal experts acknowledge that it's not closed and that eventually Germany will have to come to terms with it. Now, I'm coming to my proposal because I don't have much time. The point I want to make is that when Syriza put forth the claim once elected, the way it did that was extremely discreet, as if it didn't want to complicate an already complicated negotiation process with the Troika. In my view, this was a mistake because, in my view, the negotiation process should have been frozen from the beginning, since we don't know what the debt is, and this is an object of investigation. But we do know that Germany has huge debt and that we ought to raise the issue and to underline its importance, and we ought to have done this by putting it in front of and above the matter, the question, the issue of negotiations about Greece's debt and the Troika negotiation. Now, it seems that once we have reached this point of impasse in the negotiations, and since we have at this point the preliminary report of the Truth Committee on the debt, which has come to the conclusion that the overwhelming majority of the items included in the debt should not be acknowledged and should not be serviced because they constitute either odious or illegal or illegitimate debt. It seems to me that this is a perfect moment for Greece to change its course in the negotiation, to freeze the negotiation regarding the debt and the agreement which may or may not transpire from these negotiations, and set the matter not only in bilateral terms with a new verbal note to Berlin, which it hasn't done, but also to put the matter forth in international fora like the European Union, the Council of Europe, and the United Nations. It seems to me that by doing so, it will help to steer the European political system away from this economistic and completely immoral stage at which it is deadlocked, and it will put forth and will underline the importance of moral principles and the need for Germany and for everyone to come to terms with history, with truth. Thank you.